Hello, everyone, and welcome to EGA's 2022 annual update. My name is Karen Hamilton, and I have the honor of serving as your national president. Please allow me to introduce the dedicated group of individuals we have with us today. Serving on the executive committee are Marge Kelly, Vice President, Wendy Lynn, Director of Membership and Marketing. We have Kathy Weigl, Director of Bylaws, Val Reece, Director of Education, Pam Coller, Treasurer, Kathy Melville, Secretary. We also have region directors with us today. We have Carol Overton from the Carolinas region. We have Sue Kohler from the Great Lakes region. Jacqueline Jenkins, representing the Greater Pacific region. Joyce Furry Sievers, Heartland region. Donna, Mid-Atlantic region. Ellen Evans, the Pacific Southwestern region. Joanna Lord from the Rocky Mountain region. Valerie Russell from the South Central region. Debbie Talley, Sun region. Vera Grimsley, representing the Tennessee Valley region. And our headquarters staff, Cynthia Welch, Administrator. Rand Jurin, our Electronic Media Coordinator. And Tanya Parks, our Membership and Financial Coordinator. Thank you all for being here today, and thank you so much for your service to EGA. I will begin our session with the President's report. I was able to attend the Pacific Southwestern Regional Virtual Region meeting in April. I participated in a virtual Q&A session with the Rocky Mountain region in June and had the pleasure of visiting the Greater Pacific region in July for their seminar. I've also attended several virtual lectures and other events hosted by various regions and chapters. Thank you all so much for inviting me to attend. Our new Needle Arts magazine editor, Heather Gooch, has produced 2 issues to date, both of which have been well received. And your September issue should be in your mailbox very soon. EGA's Securing Our Future Reengineering project will launch at the August 2022 board session. You will be hearing more about this from Marge in her report. But I do want to say that we have almost 50 volunteers who have signed up to participate in this very important project. So far in 2022, we have awarded 2 scholarships. The Legacy Scholarship went to Eileen Bennett, and the Penny Evans Memorial Scholarship was awarded to Natalie Dupuy. I'm so excited that all 13 regions are represented by a Gold Thread Award winner. And I'm very much looking forward to finding out who the national Gold Thread winner is. This announcement will take place next week at the national seminar. And finally, I want to shout out a special thanks to Janet Noble, who is serving as our historian and has compiled the extensive 2021 annual report. The report is now on the website, and if you have not yet taken a look at it, I encourage you to do so, as it is an excellent summary of all the activity in EGA for 2021. I'd now like to hand this over to Marge for her report.
Thanks so much, Karen. Well, it's been a very, very exciting year. The vice president in EGA has the responsibility for the regions, the national seminar, Through the Needle's Eye exhibit, and partnering with Karen on securing our future or re-engineering EGA. So we're quite busy. With respect to the regions, my role here is to support the RDs to make sure that they have everything they need to support the members in the chapters. Let me assure you Your RDs work extremely hard. We meet either every other week or once a month, and we go over the issues. So we are just making sure that we can pivot and do what's needed. We are using Zoom all the time. They've handled plenty of stitch-ins and classes and lectures. And I've had the pleasure of going to two seminars in person, the MAR region and the TVR region. And then I also am going virtually to the SCR region. So that's a real great thing for the VP to get out there and meet everybody. You get so much information and you see so many members who are willing to help. And I'll come back to that again a few times. With respect to the national seminars, there's a lot of planning that goes on. Right now, we're all getting ready, happily packing to go to New York City next week. Boston this week, or next week rather, excuse me, next week, you'll see the early registration for Boston at the New York City seminar. And then 2024, the seminar will be in Atlanta. We haven't announced the rest of them, but there's plenty of work going on there. Through the Needle's Eye is our national exhibit. And if you don't know, it's a judged exhibit. And we used to do it where it was held every 3 years, because the exhibit would be physically in one spot and then it would move around to the regions. Well, we decided to change that. And we have a great team headed up by Georgianne Lane, looking at how to do this seminar virtually by using software that allows you to walk through a gallery. And so we're very, very excited about that. And one surprise I'll announce now is that you're going to see a sample of that at the seminar in New York City. So we'll let you see what's going on there. So that's very exciting. For next year, it's just going to be working on all these areas. And I would say that the biggest area, besides what we do every day, will be our re-engineering effort. So now let me spend a few minutes on that. And we're calling it Securing Our Future. At one point, we did call it IDEA and Securing Our Future, but now we're calling it Securing Our Future. Last year, what we did was we wanted to figure out who we are and what our issues are. So we surveyed membership. You may have heard some of this. We had a fabulous response rate. We did find out some surprises, but we basically validated some of our thoughts. Like, are we old? Yeah, we're old. But do we have enough people to take on leadership roles? No, we don't. And that was that age group. We were missing that. That was sort of a big surprise to me. And so we spent 2021 gathering the data and looking at the data with the EC and the board members. But we also did separate out a little group for diversity, and they helped us put together a diversity statement. More on that in a minute. So what have we done this year so far? Well, we are looking at this as if it's traditional re-engineering. So that is, define the current state, which we basically did, but there's a few more things we have to gather. Look at who's doing what well, and how do we want to emulate that. And that could be looking at which chapters are doing very well, which regions are doing very well, or what our competition is doing. You know, what are the other guilds doing, or what are the other social media groups doing? And we're going to define a vision, which if we could start today and we didn't have all of our history, how would we define the organization? And from that, you say, well, that's where we want to go 5 years from now, but what can we do over time to get there? And we also put together what I will call a project management office, or a PMO, headed up by Kathy Weigl and Kathy Melville. And they'll work with the different teams to make sure that we have plans, that there are issues. If issues have to be resolved, they'll get the people into the room to resolve the issues. So they've got a wonderful, exciting job ahead of them. and I'll work with them on that. We had our vision reviewed by the focus groups, and we identified initiatives that we thought would get us to where we want to go. And we prioritized them. And so you might say, well, how many initiatives? I think there are between 35 and 40 initiatives, but we've selected 6 initiatives that we will work on. And we established teams, and we're going to, over the next week, we're going to kick off these initiatives. But I'll give you a little preview just to tell you what the focus is. We're focusing on structure. So what should we look like? How many chapters, how many regions? What should we do for cyber chapters, things like that. We're looking at how to increase membership, what types of membership. We're looking at a membership platform. We're looking at educational offerings, what should they be? And we're looking at events. And events, we're defining events as seminars, stitch-ins, all those types of things, joint events with other guilds. So we're looking at that kind of stuff. That's our listing of things. So that's what we did by identifying the initiatives and prioritizing them. We established teams, and we're kicking this off next week. So what are our plans, and how are we going to do this? So we have 6 teams, and we're asking each of the teams to develop plans, hopefully by the end of the year, so that they could have initiatives that can be done 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, and 2 years from now. Plans will be rolled out in a very methodical way. So in other words, we're not going to say that we're going to do something tomorrow. What we'll do is we'll say, okay, let's look at this, let's pilot it, and then see how we can roll it out. We're going to make sure that we communicate to you. I don't know how often, but there'll be some sort of letter that comes out or a report that comes out very soon. And how can you help? You can volunteer. And then I'm going to introduce my good friend and partner, Wendy Lynn.
Thank you, Marge. I thought it would be good to refresh the group on the current committees and shares that report into membership and marketing. We have a membership committee, a social media committee, which actually has a very active group of people in it who are doing the EGA stitch along. I really need to highlight the fact that Stephanie Murphy, Diane Stauber, Helena White, names that some of you may recognize, Marilyn Evans, and of course, Cynthia Welch and Rand Duran are all very active in our social media strategy. That includes the Stitch Along page, our Facebook page, our Instagram page, Pinterest, and the EGA blog. And we'll talk about those a little later. We also have a committee on the national website, which is currently without members. I didn't mention that we have no members on the membership committee, but Tanya, of course, has worked very closely with me on membership. The product design and sales committee under the direction of Ellis Ray Kudish has been very active. And rolling into that committee, now we also have the EGA merchandise. So we'll be taking closer looks at different merchandise. Outreach reports into the Director of Membership and Marketing. That includes the youth outreach and festival box marketing, or in real life marketing. We have a funding development committee, which is not active right now. And the diversity committee was added into my group on July 19th. And the most exciting part of this to me is that there are actually members of this committee. Oh, I did want to mention also, I keep on jumping back, but in the outreach, Liz Carpenter has volunteered to participate with us in EGA outreach. So our strategy in 2022 was to continue to stress social media marketing, to ramp up in real life marketing or the festival boxes, to review membership categories and offerings, and to attract and celebrate diverse populations. We wanted to develop scalable programs to teach youth and increase the visibility of the EGA logo. So the question that I have is, how are we doing? Let's take a look at our membership numbers first of all. So this chart gives us membership numbers from May of 2014 until July of 22. The numbers improved slightly in August of 22. And this is a function of the way we capture our membership counts. So I'm looking at about March or May of every year. We weren't consistently capturing monthly data. So if I couldn't report a May number for a particular year, I got the next prior closest month. So in some cases, we're looking at April or March. But we started capturing monthly data in 2021 from 21 into 22. And this chart can show what typically we see happen as we approach July or August of a particular year. You have a high number in May that immediately tanks by the time you get to August. And that's a function of, have people paid all of their renewal dues? And I want to compliment the headquarters staff on really working hard at trying to drive up member at large numbers to renew, and also reminding the chapters to renew their memberships. So we expect those 2022, 2023 numbers, as I'll call them, to improve as we get closer to May of 23. So I'm saying here in July of 22, membership is down due to the method of renewing through the chapters. Chapter renewals are slightly lower than expected when we compare them to what we looked like in mid-July of 2021. And again, right before this meeting, we got the August numbers, and they are slightly better than July, but still not as good as August of 2021. And so we really need to take a look at a follow-up survey, and I'm hoping that we will get to a follow-up survey to understand why people aren't renewing through EGA when we get to the re-engineering project. So one of the things that I did, we need a lot of volunteers. And Marge said it, everybody will probably say we need more volunteers. So I thought it would be a good idea to hold Director of Membership and Marketing meetings via Zoom, April 30th to May 1st, to share with any members who care to attend, all 8,000 or 9,000 of you, an overview of the function. We publicized it through the regions. We sent out constant contact invitations to folks, and we also put it in the EGA monthly newsletter. And I was pleased that 27 people attended. All 27 people were good people to be at the meetings, but it's a far cry from 9,000. I didn't have to worry about exceeding my 100-person Zoom license requirement. And I'd be happy to go over this presentation with any chapter or region that's willing to have me talk about it. Now, I have been invited to a couple of regions, and so thank you for letting me speak at your region. So the word got spread to more people. But as a result of the April 30th and May 1st meetings, we were able to get Linda Norton-Smith engaged as Youth Outreach Chair. And this is a great boon. She will be working with Diana Snyder. So Linda Norton-Smith is from the Great Lakes region. Diana Snyder is from the Northeast region. And Diana has a curriculum that she developed on how to teach youth embroidery. It's a real honest to goodness curriculum like you would expect to see from certified teachers, which was the buzz that Linda Norton-Smith needed in order to agree to collaborate with Diana. And actually, Linda and I are going to travel out to Burlington, Vermont in mid-October, oh darn, to go through the Train the Trainers meeting. I can hardly wait. And to see how we could possibly scale this across the country. Now, the Product Sales and Design Committee has been consistently approving logos for regions, chapters, seminars, but they also have publicized through Alice Ray Kudish's work. They're also publicizing on the EGA website through the EGA blog and newsletter what a chapter or region needs to do in order to create a new logo. So if you don't have that information, it's there. We can tell you how to get there. And then finally, the social media committee, bless this group's heart, and I mean it sincerely, is seeing improvement in followers and engagement on all of our social media platforms. And it really is gaining a lot of energy through the new people who are participating in this function. So thank you all. We're meeting with Stitchcraft and Field Trip, two of our outside vendors, and everybody is participating in that. So I think that folks are getting a real understanding of what it takes to create a robust social media plan. And I'll be answering questions later, but now I'd like to introduce Val Reece, the Director of Education for EGA. So Val, take it over.
Thank you, Wendy. I'm going to talk about some of the education department programs, not all of them, and I'll be going in this order, but all of these programs are run by volunteers. They are an amazing group of people to work with, and it is wonderful that we have such a vibrant group. In the Master Craftsman program, Catherine Jordan is the coordinator, and we have two recent completions. Carol Reed completed Counted Thread, and Carolyn Perkins completed the Crewel embroidery Master Craftsman programs. For extended study, we had a program earlier this year, and we're looking forward to scheduling in the spring of 2023 the Blackwork program. Melinda Sherbring is the chair for this, and Carolyn Standing Webb will be presenting the Blackwork. I recognize that this is not all in black, but we all know that Blackwork can also come in color. Next. Carol Renard is the chair of publications. One of the publications, or the group of publications that she is in charge of, are the Petite Projects. We recently released Favorite Medallion by Harriet Scott, and then Pretty Petite Fall by Vicki Wittershine. These both look like a lot of fun. In group correspondence courses, Judy Herrick is the chair. These are the two courses that we will be retiring at the end of 2022. Fallen Leaves by Kim Sanders, White Iris by Mona Hill. We have had these for a fairly long time, and the instructors, when they're ready to retire the course, they let us know, and then we retire it. Group correspondence courses, you can also see them occasionally as lightning rounds. They're just regular group correspondence courses, but we have the opportunity for you to the opportunity to sign up as an individual, and then you don't have to put a group together. That works out very large for our members at large, or for our members who just can't quite get a group together out of the people they know in EGA. This is the next one that we think will be available. Margaret Kinsey is doing the final editing on this, and it's gorgeous. Look forward to having this out there. Here's a list of all the individual correspondence courses. Helene Osipov is the chair, and you can see that these cover a wide range of things, including the art of teaching embroidery, to follow along on Wendy's talk about teaching children. These are done as an individual, one-on-one with the instructor. And there are two that are coming soon. Jacoby and Crewel is one we had been offering. The teacher who'd been coordinating that was no longer continuing with it, so we've moved it over to a new teacher, and of course that involved slightly revamping that ICC. And the sampler family tree is being piloted. Solveig Wallstrom handles online studio. These are offered, we try to offer one a month, and we're doing very well with that. We have the candy cane Christmas decoration, which has gold work in it. Don Donnelly has given us a B sampler. If you don't like the letter B, well, guess what? You'll have to be waiting for something else. And then for those of us who just love box making, this is Sarah DeRusset Hall's Parisian Patisserie. This exactly holds a macaron. And that will be coming up soon. So look for them online. Last but definitely not least, the virtual lecture series. And here's where the changes are coming. We have implemented a number of changes. We're ready to start these, offering these to you in January 2023. We're going to increase the audience size to 500. That increased our costs in a number of ways, not the least of which was our license. But we also needed to pay our lecturers more because now they're lecturing 5 times as many people. So to offset those costs, when you register for the lecture, you will be charged $5 to offset those costs. And that will just help us take care of that. In addition, if the lecturer permits, we will be able to record the lecture. And for those that we will be able to record the lecture, then those will be available also for you at a $5 per person fee. I know right now the January lecture will not be recorded. We did not have that lecturer's permission, but the February lecture will indeed be recordable. And if you want to see the recorded version, then you would sign up for the recorded version and pay your $5 fee. Upcoming in 2022, just to make sure you know about this, we have Rosashi, and we have creating needlework maps. That's a Catherine Jordan piece. And the next person is my good buddy, Pam, treasurer.
Thank you, Val. On this update, I would like to talk to you just a bit about the, excuse me, chapter region financial guidelines. These are available to you on the EGA website in the document download section. As we come to the end of the year, chapters and regions will be electing new treasurers, preparing budgets, completing end of the year financial reports, setting up their annual audits. These always bring questions, and most of this information can be found in the chapter region guidelines. Information is also included in the guidelines with document examples, mandatory physical policies, and banking guidelines. I understand that some of these things seem unnecessary to chapters and we all just want to stick. But we need to remember EGA is a 501c3 corporation, and as such, we have to abide by certain IRS rules and regulations. During the year, you may come across financial issues that are not addressed in the chapter region financial guidelines or something that is just not clear to you. Please feel free to send me an email with any questions or concerns, especially if you get an IRS notice or a state notice that you don't understand. I can be reached at treasurer@egausa.org. That's it for me. And next up will be Kathy Weigl concerning our bylaws.
Thank you, Pam. Bylaws, as you all probably know, continue to work on policies and procedures to make sure that they're consistent and cover what EGA does. We maintain the Who's Who directory, which has all of the national committees, all the officers, and has their contact information. And we review bylaws for the regions and for all the chapters. This year it's Mid-Atlantic region. Then finally, we review the national bylaws to keep them current. There's one bylaw amendment that you guys have been considering over the summer. The one thing I wanted to focus on is that we changed the policies and procedures regarding sending in most scholarship and award information from postmarked to received. This is in recognition that many of these applications don't get mailed, they get emailed. All the application forms have been updated to show the email address as well as the mailing address, and only those items that have to have other things with them were not changed. So when you apply for a scholarship or you want to nominate someone for the Gold Thread Award, either mail it early because you know how the mail is, or email it to egahq@egausa.org by the deadline given in the section of the policy. Next slide, please. The bylaw amendment that you have voted on allows the organization to change our bylaws twice a year rather than once a year. With securing our future and all the changes that are going to be coming out of that, we felt we needed to be more flexible in being able to amend the bylaws to accommodate the changes that are going to be made. So that is what that one is. If you have any other questions or you have any updates that you see that need to be made, because there are many documents involved in this section, please email me at bylaws@egausa.org. And now here's my buddy and fellow PTO person, Kathy Melville.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm pleased to announce that 74 chapters responded and voted to our recent bylaws change. Thank you so much for taking part. The EC and Board of Directors continue to work hard. 14 between session motions have been passed since our membership meeting in March. Now I'd like to introduce Cynthia Welsh, our office administrator.
Thank you, Kathy. Tanya, Rand, and I are looking forward to participating in and supporting securing our future in any way we can. Member support is the main thing we do here at headquarters, and that ranges from welcoming visitors to doing registrations for classes, sending library books and study boxes, anything having to do with membership, helping with financial reporting, and just about anything you can imagine. Our social media efforts, as mentioned before by Wendy, are in collaboration with the office and with our agency field trip. This means updating and maintaining the website, having anything to do with anything that goes out for EGA on social media, including the monthly newsletter and Needlepoint Network. And now I'm going to send it back to Karen for final remarks.
Thank you, Cynthia. And thank you to all the officers and directors for their reports. As you have heard, EGA is a hive of activity with volunteers and staff working across the country and at our headquarters in Louisville. It is this multifaceted leadership team who keeps EGA operating. When I agreed to serve as your EGA National President, I knew that the focus of my term would be to provide a secure future for the organization. To achieve this goal, your executive committee has designated 3 overarching buckets representing the areas on which we are concentrating our strategic planning efforts. These buckets are closing the financial gap, building stronger chapters and member-at-large engagement, and growing our educational opportunities. We must close the financial gap. Financial stability is the keystone for success for any organization. EGA has been blessed with a windfall estate gift, which has provided funding for special projects such as updating our branding, launching our marketing efforts, and investing in future planning. However, this estate gift also has been the source of bridge funding when our operating revenue has fallen short of our expenses. This reliance on gap funding cannot continue. All things being equal, we will go through our reserves in approximately 8 to 9 years. So how do we balance the budget? We will seek ways to increase revenue and decrease expenses to reduce or eliminate the annual operating deficit. However, based on our current enrollment numbers, we won't be able to close the funding gap with a simple dues increase. We will evaluate every program to determine its worth to the organization. This process involves determining the actual cost of each program, taking a hard look at non-revenue generating programs to determine if they fulfill a mission-related objective, testing and evaluating every new program, and not being afraid to discontinue a program. We will develop additional revenue opportunities to increase funding. These efforts include applying for grants, engaging in annual fundraising efforts, and developing additional membership levels with added benefits. We want to build stronger chapters and increase member-at-large engagement. In the past 10 years, overall membership enrollment has dropped by 25%. Chapter membership has dropped by 27%, but member-at-large membership has grown by 40%. So what's happening with our chapters? Well, as we all know, we do have an aging population. As has been mentioned before, 97% of the respondents from the 2021 member survey fall into the 57 years or older category. Younger generations are more reliant on social media and virtual relationships. They are not joiners. And many potential members have time constraints due to work and family responsibilities. So how can National help reverse the decline in chapter membership? We can institute procedures that will reduce the administrative load on chapter members. We can provide membership recruitment ideas and resources for local chapters. We can investigate potential ways to form different types of chapters. National can provide guidance to chapters for ways to make their environment more welcoming to attract new members. And we can look at strengthening chapters in leadership, recruitment, and programming for their members. What is motivating people to join as members at large? And how can we keep members at large as active members? While we do not have definitive answers at this time, I believe we're attracting more members at large with our active advertising program via social media. We are planning to survey the members at large to determine their interests and demographics. And using the results of that survey, we will increase engagement opportunities for members at large. How do we grow our educational opportunities? With the explosion of needlework opportunities available, EGA is faced with the challenge of offering programs that will be attractive to both current and future members. It is imperative that we continue to develop virtual opportunities along with our more traditional offerings. We are working to include more introductory and beginner offerings. And the new Technical Excellence Certification Program will offer students not interested in design the opportunity to formally perfect their skills. Another area that will receive attention is the types of events offered by EGA. National seminar attendance has dropped in recent years, while the cost to attend has continued to rise. We will evaluate our current seminar structure to determine the viability of various formats in order to better serve our members in the future. In addition, we will consider less formal stitch-in types of events, as well as virtual events, in order to reach a broader audience of current and potential new members. So what happens next? As Marge mentioned in her report, your EGA board is launching the Securing Our Future initiative at the National Seminar in New York City in August 2022. This re-engineering project will determine the path to the future of our organization. There are almost 50 volunteers who have agreed to participate in this long-term effort. Our goal is to complete the first phase of this project by August 2024. And we look forward to sharing the results of these efforts with you over the coming months. I'd like to thank you for your time and for your support of EGA. Now let's look at the questions that we have received from the members. Kathy Weigl, you're up.
Thanks, Karen. The first question came from Carol Sylvester, who's a lifetime member and a member at large. Thank you, Carol, for sending your question. It's so timely as we've just been discussing members at large a little bit. The question reads, please explain why members at large do not have representation on the board. I've asked this question before in this venue and was given a half thought out answer about how many chapters are now offering online or remote membership, and that should suffice. That does not actually answer the question. Some choose to be MALs because they don't want to deal with the politics of a chapter. Some don't have internet access and have no choice. As a longtime member of EGA, over 30 years, put down my money to become a life member and have become much more involved since I became an MAL. I feel as though my opinions and thoughts are not valued by this organization because I have no voice in the decision-making process and can't get a legitimate answer as to why that is the case. Please do better for those of us who choose to be members at large, or be honest with your membership about your motivations and stop offering that as a membership option. Thank you. Okay. The board of directors consists of 7 elected officers and directors and the region directors. The elected members are recommended by the nominating committee, which works to find people who have the skills and talents to fill the positions without any reference to chapter membership. The who's who list found in document downloads lists all the national committees. I encourage you and everyone else who is interested in helping EGA to go forward to look at that listing and contact the chair, whose contact information is also on that list. We need help at all levels. If you are coming to a seminar, look for members of the nominating committee who will have a ribbon on their name tag. They'll also be available at a location announced in your handbook for you to find them. Finally, fill out a resume found in document downloads and send it to the committee so they know who you are and what skills you can share. And as for voting, we know the number of members at large has increased greatly in the past few years, and they deserve as much of a voice as any other member. Remembering that EGA has a chapter-based structure, we're working to find a way to include members at large. Options that we've talked about include an MAL chapter that would be organized for voting only, but then that would only have one vote for all the MALs, or an MAL chapter for each region, or some other format. It hasn't been decided. We are working on this as part of securing your future. You're going to hear more about that process in the months to come. I know it's not a definitive answer, but there isn't one at this point. So from that, I would like to introduce the Vice President, Marge Kelly, who'll give her questions.
Thanks, Kathy. So I have 4 questions, all relating around seminars and one on copyright. But I'm going to take each one individually. The first one is from Patty Orton, who's a member at large. Have you ever considered joining forces with the Smocking Guild of America to put on a joint event? Their areas of interest include smocking, embroidery, heirloom techniques, etc. I can't say enough about this question. It's a great question. And as I mentioned before, one of our initiatives is going forward is looking at events and looking at maybe partnering with other people. So I would say that you'll be hearing more about this, but I think it's a terrific idea. And as a matter of fact, I saw something from Vogue Knitting where they were doing embroidery on knitting. So we do overlap each other and we should be doing some things. We have a few members. This question is from Deborah Berger from Dogwood, from the Dogwood chapter. We have a few members that have businesses that would benefit them. Will EGA relax the policy about promoting these businesses and allowing them to sell at retreats or events? So I am just a little confused about this because we do allow at merchandising events, we allow people to buy tables and promote their businesses or their goods and services at either region seminars, national seminars, and other chapter events when they have merchandise tables. What we won't do is, at this point, is provide chapter lists or member lists to people. So I think under the current structure, we're doing what we can. And if somebody wants to promote themselves at one of our merchandising nights, that's no problem. Here is another one. This is from Diane Kessler Harnett from Pioneer Valley. Has any consideration been given to offering online courses as well as in-person attendance for the national seminar? It's a good opportunity to take a class from a national teacher for members who have to work or family commitments. I found Zoom classes being a great experience during the pandemic. Oh, yeah, again, this is a great question. It is something that we are looking at in the initiative entitled Events. We have done some things where, and you'll see it in some of the region seminars where they are holding online classes after or before the seminar, but we haven't done anything at the same time. But but the technology keeps improving, so we can do these things. So you'll see more about this when we hear from the person in charge of the events initiative. And lastly, why doesn't EGA have a stitch room available at conferences where people can meet and stitch without paying a studio fee? So this is the situation we have today, right? People come to our seminars, they pay to come to our seminars, and we have studio time, and studio time is provided with a national teacher who can help you make decisions on your piece. So it is part of the seminar. It's considered a class, all right? We also have rooms available at the off time for attendees to sit and stitch. It's something that we would have to talk about. I don't know how we would do this yet, but I see it as something that is a possibility. We certainly can do an online stitch-in when that's going on, and that may have people feel a little bit more like they are attending seminar. And in speaking to the person in charge of the initiative for events, we talked about having online merchandise night and online teacher showcase, so that you can again feel like you're part of the seminar, and also maybe being at the dinner, for some of the speeches. But again, we have to look at that. But these are all very good questions. My last question here is from Irene Pavelko from Cooley County chapter in Wisconsin, I believe. And it said, our chapter canceled holding its traditional fall public needlework show because of the copyright issues that we learned of early this year. Members have always noted designers on labels. However, we do not want to get sued. What's the guidance on this? Okay. Unfortunately, our policies and procedures are a little outdated, okay, in this area. So I apologize in advance if you canceled your show. It was canceled with the best information that we had at the time, okay? But since that, we also had a few questions, and we worked with our legal team. And this is the advice that they give us. First of all, there are certain pieces of certain works that are in the public domain, and they're like done before 1927 and don't really pertain to a lot, but there are works in the public domain. There is also something called the fair use doctrine. And in the fair use doctrine, if you are exhibiting stuff for critiques, if it's being judged or juried, if it's for teaching, or if it's for scholarship, or if it's for doing research, you do not need to get any permission to display these pieces. So there is no need for a release. And this is in-person exhibits, okay? And, but, you know, I would, just to be on the safe side, so you're okay to release, to show these things without releases. But to be on the safe side, I would credit the designer if you have that information, okay? Now, I am working with our attorneys on what to do relative to posting online. And I just need to get the wording, and the wording really doesn't relate to the piece. It relates to the photograph of the piece. So, because you're posting a photograph, all right? And so we just need to get the appropriate wording that says you have permission or you own that photograph. So if you took the photograph, you own it, and then you can post it online. But we will be putting something out on that. And I will have to work with my good friend and partner, Kathy Weigl, to make sure we get this updated in the P&Ps. And I think that's it for me. And now I'm going to turn this over to our treasurer, national treasurer, my good friend and partner, Pam Coller.
Thanks, Marge. My first question comes from Victoria of the Rocky Mountain region. What are you doing at the national level to help chapters and regions implement the ability to accept payments electronically? When will you have this done? This is totally something national should be doing. No reason each individual region should have to figure it out on their own. And it is something that is needed now, not 2 years from now. If we want anyone less than 35 to join EGA, we must have a means of accepting electronic payments, as young folks do not have checking accounts. It is these seemingly small yet significant impediments to new members that maintain the overall decline in the organization. Thanks for your question, Victoria. Some chapters and regions are already using electronic methods for receiving payments, such as PayPal, Venmo, and Zelle. These are all very user-friendly, both for setup and for use by members. I'm sure there are also some other electronic methods that I have not mentioned. I agree that it's something that both old and new members would appreciate. Unfortunately, there is no one answer that will work for all chapters and regions, and all must be set up individually because of unique taxpayer ID numbers and bank accounts. I'm always available for questions on this, and I am planning to add a section to the chapter region financial guidelines with generic information on accepting electronic payments. My next question, I have a couple of questions specific to dues that I will answer together. First is from Patricia of Norman, Oklahoma. In the year 2022, it seems like we are operating in the dark ages. At the national level, are we working on updating our system for chapters to pay national dues electronically? The other part for this one is Mary from the, I know I'm not going to say this correctly, and I apologize ahead of time, Mary, Mangalvan chapter. Her question was, can dues be paid directly to EGA on a January-December fiscal schedule? To both of these questions, we are addressing this during our new re-engineering process that kicks off at our planning meetings in New York City. Please be patient just a little bit longer as we work through an updated process for dues that will work better for all of us. My last question is from Louise in the Channel Islands chapter. Can National purchase a cloud subscription to QuickBooks that all chapters and regions can use? Short answer on this one is no, we can't. While there is a cloud-based version of QuickBooks, desktop QuickBooks, this is basically for accounting and tax firms to then be able to work on their clients' information. And each client would have to have their own QuickBooks. So this is not a setup that would work for our needs. And it's also a quite expensive system to put into place. All companies, or in our case, chapters and regions, must have their own QuickBooks license or online account. That does it for me. Our next group of questions is for Val Reece, Director of Education.
Thank you. I have 12 questions to answer. I'm sure you'll forgive me if I consolidate some of them and if I don't read them in their entirety. The first 4 questions have to do with the virtual lecture series, And they actually have to do with, all four of them have to do with how many people. These questions are from Lisa Peterson of Pioneer Valley chapter, Candace Schmeidel of Camellia chapter, Melissa Berry of the Knoxville chapter, and Wendy Gerard of SPN. So as I mentioned in the earlier presentation, yes, we will have a limit of 500 people starting in January. There will be a $5 fee per person to sign up for the live lecture, and video recording, even though nobody asked the question about timing, video recording is at the discretion of the lecturer. And our second lecture of 2023 will have video available after the lecture, and you can order that as well. Again, we are making these changes. They are in response to an overwhelming, just amazing response to our virtual lecture series. And we think this will take care of, also take care of our no-shows. I'm calling it skin in the game. You have paid $5 to be there, you're probably going to show up. So that's what we're going to be doing starting in January. I look forward to having 450 at every single lecture. The next question has nothing to do with that. Is from Karen Shearer. She's a member at large. For those classes that have video instructions, is there a way they can be put on a DVD for purchase? And the answer is, it's really up to the individual teacher as to how she wants to provide the video instructions for you after the class is over. I'm going to assume that a flash drive or Dropbox or other online location would be equally acceptable, noting that DVD is not the most current technology. But that's entirely up to the teacher. That is not something the education department is going to require or even request of our teachers. Putting a DVD together, or actually putting any video out there, is a lot of work. The teacher has to do the editing. It's more work than just recording something and popping it online. The next question is from Jody Garrett. She's also a member at large. Why are all your projects so expensive even without supplies? So I'm going to rephrase that question to be, why are the instructions so expensive? Because when you don't have supplies, what you have is are the instructions. And when you set the cost of a text, the designer considers the amount of time that the designer spends creating the project and then translating that design to the instructions you purchase. This takes a lot of time. I've worked with a lot of teachers. I've seen how much time they spend designing. This takes a lot of time, and we would really like them to at least earn the minimum hourly rate. And they're really they're worth a lot more than that, but they also recognize that they can't sell their instructions for necessarily what they think, how many they think they'll be able to sell, and what it's costing them to put them together. So they're expensive because they take a lot of work. Try drawing them, try doing them sometime. I have, it's a lot of work. The next question is from Joanne Manfrey from the Suffolk chapter. Can EGA compile a list of teachers from all over who can do classes via Zoom as well as in person? The answer is yes, we've already done that. I have that on a slide. Marge, can you put that information up for me, please? I've also sent this information to Jody via email. She has received it, but I wanted the rest of you to see it. If you don't have time, okay. So there are a number of them. We have EGA on our website. We have under virtual lecture series. We have a select certified teacher list on our website. NETA has a list of teachers. That list of teachers is also available in an ad in our magazine. And last but certainly not least, some regions have lists of teachers who live in their region. If your region has a committee chair, see if your region has a list of teachers in your region. Those teachers may not necessarily be found on the other lists. And so this is out there. You should be able, so drop me an email if you want your personal list. I will just send you this chart and then you'll be ready to go. If you need to reach me, I'm at education@egausa.org, or if you go through our website under selected topic, select Education General, those all come to me. Next question is from Melissa Berry. She's in the Knoxville chapter. She asks, has there been any consideration of creating, oh, I'm sorry, this question is about the Master Craftsman program. And the question is, has there been any consideration of creating apprentice and journeyman levels that would come with finishing, say, 2 steps for apprentice, 4 steps for journeyman? And the answer is, well, we had a little chat about this. And for those of us who are familiar with the Master Craftsman program and have completed 1 or 2, maybe 3 steps, maybe more, maybe finished it, we realize that the steps are not in increasing order of difficulty. It's just increasing order of time. So since this isn't really a level of difficulty, it really doesn't match with the journeyman or apprentice levels that you find in other guilds, say the Plumbers Guild, for example. My father-in-law is a plumber. I understand what these things mean. It really doesn't map very well to the Master Craftsman program. However, if you have completed any steps, you can say, oh, I've completed the first 3 steps of the Master Craftsman program. I'm on step 4 now. And most people will understand what that means. So that's what that one is. The next question is from Carol Sylvester, who is a member at large. She asked about, she said, what is the status of the EGA Technical Skill Certification Program? Will it be rolled out soon? And the actual name of the program is Technical Excellence Certification Program. We have 2 in development. The first one we release will be in counted thread. We have completed piloting, and we expect to be able to release this one before the end of this year. We were trying to get it out before seminar. We didn't quite make it, but when we have everything ready, we will release it. I'm not really fond of rolling things out half-baked. My husband doesn't like half-baked cookies, so I learned to make sure I bake everything all the way through. We're going to make sure that the first one we roll out is completely baked. The next question is from Susan Schlesinger. She's a cyber stitcher, and she asks, I am curious why EGA and its instructors have not tried to have Zoom classes and or classes with video to help members learn new techniques. So my first answer to that is we have something called online studio classes. And for those instructors who are comfortable with video, you will find that they have indicated in the description of the class that they have video. If you go to look at the Parisian Patisserie class details, for example, you will find that it includes PDF lessons plus videos. So that will tell you in advance, before you sign up for the class, if the teacher intends to use videos. Let's talk about Zoom classes. Okay, I tried to set up a Zoom class for a group correspondence course. I had only 15 people involved in that class, and finding a common time that is day and time of day for 15 people was virtually impossible. And I use the virtually as a pun there. Yes, I know. But it's very, very difficult to set up Zoom classes unless you have a large number of people who want to be disappointed. I'm sorry, a large number of people who want to take the class. Zoom is not the answer to all of this. However, video is. So there's at least a partial answer. You don't have the interaction with the teacher. And this, again, is entirely up to the teacher. But I, as a teacher, found that very difficult to do, is to find a common time. So that's the answer. If you want my answer, that's mine. The next question is from Candace Schmidl of the Camellia chapter. And oh, these two are the same topic, and from the same chapter, we have Karen Meyerlees, also from the Camellia chapter. So this has to do with the videos that I just said were so wonderful to use. The question is, why can't we keep them around forever? And the answer is, we do not have infinite online storage space. That means we need to roll off the older videos so we have space for the new ones coming on. We do provide you with a date on when that will happen, so you can plan ahead. We don't want to surprise you and have it just vanish. You may ask the teacher if you may purchase the videos from the teacher. Of course, the teacher's perfectly entitled to say no. I had a teacher say no to me. It took her 5 minutes to say no, but I understand all of the reasons why she wants to say no, and she's perfectly entitled to say no. It is her intellectual property, or his intellectual property. They don't have to part with it for you for love nor money. So now we go to my friend Wendy.
I'm Wendy Lynn. I'm the Director of Membership and Marketing, and I also have 12 questions to respond to. I will try to group some of them. I find that there are certain themes to all of these, but you know, one thing that I would like to say in advance of all of these questions is I read each of these questions and I go, great idea, wonderful idea. Remember, we have 3 full-time employees at headquarters, and we have an entirely volunteer board, and somehow we have to try to get all of these initiatives off the ground. So when I say great idea, I'm also saying if you would like to volunteer to help us execute these ideas, please, please get in touch with us. We would look forward to your help. So I'm going to start with a question where I've got this request from Kim at MPC. I'm not quite sure which chapter that is. And Kim's question is, a while back, it was mentioned that there may be a subscription service for small projects to learn new techniques, and then nothing else has been said. Is this still in the works? And Kim, this is one where I'm going to say, yes, it's a good idea, but it is not in the works at this time, because when I took over membership and marketing, I thought it was a bigger priority to get more people on committees within EGA rather than pursue the subscription box series, which would only really benefit a small group of people. We were thinking that we would start out with offering subscription boxes. I worked on this committee last year that for about 40 people for each subscription. And when you're trying to satisfy a broader group of members, that moved to a lower priority on my list than we could handle this year. So it is not still in the works. It has not been forgotten, but I'm not looking at reviving that anytime soon. I would encourage you, however, to look at the free projects and the petite projects, which allow you to try out different techniques that we have posted on the website. And if you need to learn how to get to those, please let me know. I'm at marketing@egausa.org, or Val Reece is at education@egausa.org. We both, or any of your region directors, any of the officers would be happy to point these out to you. The next question I'm going to take is the easiest one for me to answer. And this is from Julie. I think it's pronounced Brogan. I lived in an Irish neighborhood in Chicago for a long time, and it's either Brogan or Braun, depending on what part of Ireland you're from. And Julie is from the Camellia chapter, and she is asking, why isn't there an EGA Facebook page? And Julie, that's an excellent question, and the answer is there is a Facebook page. Getting to it may be the issue. So Marge, can you pull up the slide on our social media addresses? Right, no, there. Okay, so part of the problem that we have is sometimes we're called the Embroideries Guild of America, which is the case if you follow us on Facebook, Embroideries Guild of America. You can also find the EGA Stitch Along on Facebook. And if you put EGA in your magnifying glass on Facebook, you're also going to see a lot of chapters pop up. It's a great little trick to include the letters EGA before your chapter's name in order to be found very quickly. And then some chapters actually have the words Embroiderers Guild of America, or they might be linked to the EGA Facebook page. So look under Embroiderers Guild of America, look under EGA both. You should be able to find a lot of stuff on Facebook, really great stuff. Now on Instagram, if you type in EGA_USA, you'll find our Instagram page. On Pinterest, we spell out Embroiderers Guild of America or at egausa.org. Now, I actually prepared this slide for half of a handout that I gave a lecture to a group of stitchers who were not EGA members, who were in Northeast Wisconsin last week. And I said, you can also get free stuff on the EGA website. So if you look under egausa.org resources, you can sign up for the EGA blog. You don't have to be a member. You can sign up for the Needlework Network newsletter. And then you can also sign up for a free project. If you do that, you'll automatically be signed up for the Needlework Network newsletter. Now, Rand would tell you that that newsletter was really started for people who were non-EGA members, but I'm encouraging EGA members to sign up for it as well, because it just gives you another dose of happy feeling about needlework when that pops up in your email. So those are the different ways that you can get to social media that pertains to EGA. All right, the next question. So I'm grouping questions as well. And a lot of the questions are about youth, teaching youth, and about membership. And so I'm going to kind of group those together. When I talk about youth, there's two things I want you to think about. There is youth education, which is handled by the subcommittee of outreach that's called youth. And then there's youth membership, which is really part of the membership function of EGA. They're two separate things. You don't have to have youth be a member in order to teach youth. You want to go and do outreach to youth. So I have lots of news on that. And then the youth membership question, how are we going to attract youth members? That will be answered in the Securing Our Future project, the re-engineering project, as we take a look at what categories of members do we have and what do we offer to those different memberships. So I will just briefly mention each of the people who had questions about that. Oh, and how do we get younger members? So I think that we had a lot of questions about how do we get people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I think it's not only getting online options for payment in order to attract those younger members. I was thinking about that question when Pam was going over it, and I thought, well, there's always cash. I never carry cash anymore. I'm hard pressed to have cash, so that's not an answer either. Okay, so the first person that asked about youth was Kristen Jacobson from the Camellia chapter. And she said embroidery and other needlework skills in the past were traditionally passed on from grandmother to granddaughter, from mother to daughter, and so on. And then she asks questions. I'm skipping part of this just for expediency. The question is, who is the current youth director? So the current chair of youth outreach is Linda Norton Smith. She just volunteered for this after the meetings that we had earlier in the year. And she and I are going to be traveling to Burlington to go through Train the Trainer training with Diana Snyder in Burlington. And then what programs and activities are being established to encourage youth to learn these needlework skills and to encourage youth to become members in EGA? I want you to break those two out. We're trying to develop this curriculum and then make it scalable so that we can then take it to the regions, take it to the chapters. So that will be the method that we use to encourage youth to learn needlework skills. And again, the membership question we will address in more detail in the Securing Our Future. The group of youth that needs to be focused on are the 9 to 14-year-olds. How are those youth being encouraged to learn needlework skills? Again, we'll be working on that. And how is the information on youth programs being distributed to local chapters and interested youth? Again, we'll be working on that as soon as we go through the training and try to put our heads together and figure this out. But if you are interested in assisting in that effort, please let us know. Okay, can you provide guidance, assistance, a video, whatever, to help us recruit new members, especially the young people? And that comes from Cynthia Land in the Colorado chapter. I was told I mispronounced Colorado. It's not Colorado, so take whichever pronunciation you want. I'm going to also say that Heather Gitlin in Bucks County is saying, may we have an update on EGA's plans to attract a younger and more diverse membership? Thank you. And also Karen Gallagher from Duclay says, it seems to me that membership is aging and there are very few under 40s joining. What is EGA doing to help chapters especially target the 30s, 40s, and 50s age group to the pleasures of stitching? Laura Martin, do you hear a theme here? Dixie chapter, what is being done to encourage younger generations under 30 to take up the needle arts? And then let me see, this is a separate category, okay. And I think those are all being lumped together. One of the things that I had done, in addition to running meetings April 30th and May 1st, to talk about all of the committees that we have, I ran a special week of meetings, and it literally ran from Saturday of one week to Sunday of the following week. And I even agreed to have meetings with as few as 1 people. I invited all the RDs and the outreach coordinators for the regions to sit in and talk about outreach and what it means. The best way to increase membership is through a concerted outreach effort. I asked people in those meetings to volunteer for the outreach committee. One person, Liz Carpenter, actually raised her hand and said, I'd love to help you out. And I know outreach is going on. I know that Great Lakes region is going to a lot of the Quilt and Sewing Expo meetings. I know that there's people in the Northeast who are also going to different events. I did outreach with this group in Northeast Wisconsin. The key is to make us as known as we possibly can be, to have EGA's name on banners, on table coverings, on everything that you hand out, and make sure it looks like the EGA logos so that people start to recognize the EGA logo. I want to tell you that there is a chapter in Texas, it's the Fort Worth chapter, that decided to put up a table at a regional retreat that was being held. And they found a way to attract 17 new members at that retreat. One weekend. And I think we would have been thrilled in many of our chapters to have a couple of new members after an event like that. So the only way we can spread the word on how to get that done is if we meet regularly. So if you might be interested in either the Festival Box Committee or in the Youth Outreach Committee or the Outreach Committee, the overarching Outreach Committee, please let me know. marketing@ega.org. I can run meetings for any regions or chapters that would like me to talk about some of the things that we see going on. Let's see, there are other questions. Okay, this is a real lengthy question that was raised by Paige Gillory in the Dallas Needlework and Textile Guild, and said that their chapter's goal this year is to try and increase membership at the semi-annual meeting. Marketing mentioned that there was a 42 increase in EGA members at large. This was mainly due to a decline in available chapters and people moving. I'll make a comment there. We think that that contributed to an increase in the number of members at large. but there's a caveat to that. My question is, what percentage of the increase were completely new members? And this is where we're limited in the way we capture data. Our membership system is not a membership system. It's a customer relationship management system, or it's called CRM. So I don't have historical data to say, okay, this is how many new members we have. These are members at large who were formerly chapter members. We just don't capture that data currently. And what we saw was an increase in new members at large, not chapter members who became members at large, but new members who were members at large of it comprises about 50% of the May 2021 chapter membership. So that means that we had 1,400 members at large, of whom 700 were reported as new members. That means that we lost 500, excuse me, I just want to check my numbers. We lost more than 500 members at large. And of the remaining members at large, I can't tell you how many of them were formerly in a chapter and then came down, but it's not part of the 700 new members. That's all I can tell you. So that was one question. Or could the increase in MAL be attributed solely to current members changing their type of EGA membership? No, 700 new members. And is there any way to get a breakdown of EGA membership by age range? Because of the way our system is put together, no. We don't capture a person's birth date on our membership system. It would be beneficial in identifying target markets for membership so we can better focus our marketing efforts. Absolutely, that's a great comment. And then finally, for our chapter, most of our decline can be attributed to our members aging and moving out of our area without an influx of new members. Does EGA have any market research on why membership is decreasing? We don't have any market research, but what I would like to see happen, because I think it's important, this is a great question. We need to get some exit interview or exit survey information, which I'm hoping that we will create as part of securing our future, to find out what didn't work for you. So that was another item. Okay, and Jean Dyson, who's a member at large, asks the question, is it possible to have someone to be the head or point of contact leader of the member at large members so that we could function more like a chapter? This could involve online groups, forums to reduce the isolation of MAL and make us feel more a part of the total organization, particularly important for overseas members. Man, this is absolutely accurate. Now, there are things that I think the regions can do currently to improve the engagement of the members at large. One of the things that I did when I was a region director was I had member at large Zoom stitch-ins, because we were a large geographic area, 5 states were involved. And we had about 100 members at large at the time I ran the Zoom meetings. We would only have 4 or 5 people show up for those meetings. But then I started having all members stitch alongs on things like Christmas Day or New Year's Day or Mother's Day or Thanksgiving Day. And members at large joined us at those times too. And that was largely because of the pandemic. I know that Sue has continued having some of those stitch-ins in the Great Lakes region. So I think Zoom stitch-ins, Zoom meetups are a great way, and it's a cheap way to get the members at large engaged. So I encourage all of the chapters. I know that some of our chapters are asking for member at large email information, and they're trying to get members at large engaged that way and hopefully become chapter members. For the downside of the pandemic, I think the upside was it encouraged us to think about ways to keep people engaged differently. And so that was a positive that emerged out of this. Here's another question. I hope I answered that question thoroughly enough. Debbie Tennis from Sandia Mountain says, is the board going to take some action to create a database? Did I say this one already? Where EGA would have membership information like length of membership, age of members, specific type of interest, participation in member opportunities. You know, again, securing our future made us realize that we have to do something more dynamic with database. So stay tuned for that. I'm sorry, it may take 2 years. Again, remember, you're dealing with only 3 full-time employees and a bunch of volunteers. So question is from Margaret Ridland, who's an at-large member internationally. And Margaret's question is, has EGA considered offering an associate membership so that embroidery guilds from other countries could create regular links with EGA? They could also possibly provide certain reciprocal benefits for guild members from one country when they visit or move to the associated country. This is a great question, Margaret. And we are looking at working not only internationally with other organizations, but even within the United States, which are the ways that we could leverage our mutual memberships. And so this will be part of the re-engineering process as well. So thank you so much for that question. And then Louise Palm asked the last question. Louise is from the Channel Islands. Can National set up a standard website for chapters and use its bargaining power or website to reduce costs for chapters and regions? This is a great idea. It's an idea that's been percolating ever since I started taking a look at region and chapter EGA pages. If you want to go to a brand standard, you want the look and feel of every website that's touching EGA to be similar. We have tons of great and some not so great websites. So how can we make them all great? And that would be by doing group purchasing. If you'd be interested in helping on that project, please let me know. marketing@egausa.org. And with that, oh, thank goodness I'm done. Karen Hamilton, our leader, our fearless leader and my friend, who's the EGA president, will take the last questions for the group.
Thank you, Wendy. These have all been such great, thoughtful questions. We really appreciate getting them. The first question I would like to address is from Maria Robb, and she is a member at large. Maria says that she finds it frustrating to not have an outlet for her embroideries. I think we all feel this way. Most just go in a box for storage. The EGA needs new funding sources. Could we donate embroiderers to an EGA online shop and the proceeds go to EGA? She says she knows that as individuals, we cannot sell anything for profit, but does that mean we cannot sell anything we make under any circumstances for the nonprofit purpose? She says, let's put our skills to use in the world instead of storing these embroideries away for our kids to give away or throw away when we pass on. Wow, what a great idea, Marla. I think we can all identify to that. This is definitely something that we will explore. I really appreciate you thinking of this and thinking about a creative way to solve a dilemma all of us Stitchers face and creating a new revenue stream for EGA. So stay tuned on that one. Great idea. Appreciate it, and we'll see what can evolve on that. So just keep them in the box for now, but we'll have more on that later on. The second question is from Marty Mastasoff. Again, Marty is an at-large member, and he asks, will EGA ever publish an article on male embroiderers? I'm very pleased to report that we already do so and will continue to do so. The most recent Needle Arts article about a male embroiderer was in the December 2021 issue, entitled From Video Games to Stitching, and it was about a young male embroiderer named Cole Morrison. We also had a recent virtual lecture, that highlighted historical male embroiderers. Our Needle Arts editor is always looking for articles that cover a vast array of embroidery subjects, including men and their needlework. So if anyone has any ideas, please reach out to Heather Gooch. She can be reached at edna@egausa.org. That was a great question, Marty. Thank you for that. Next, I've received 2 questions from Darcy Walker with the Oatlands chapter. I'm going to combine these because they are directly related. And what Darcy says is, given the tremendous loss of members in both EGA and ANG, should we consider merging, as so many teachers teach for both? So many teachers teach for both. And she also says that the membership is rapidly aging, as well as chapters are having trouble finding leadership and affordable meeting places. The growth of online alternatives and more casual get-togethers at places like Panera's make chapter meetings less compelling to many people. Has EGA's time and relevancy come to an end? What is unique from the EGA which can't be found elsewhere? I want to say thank you, Darcy, for your very thoughtful questions. These are just the type of questions we seek to answer through the upcoming Securing Our Future initiative. We have a lot of hard questions to ask ourselves over the next couple of years. We look forward to determining the answers and building a strong plan for the future of EGA. Darcy, we also appreciate your willingness to participate in this effort. And we are open for other folks that are interested in securing our future to participate. If you are, just reach out at any time at president@egausa.org. We would love to have you involved. So while we don't have the answers to Darcy's questions right now, I think we'll be finding those as we move forward in our process. Finally, I have a message from Elizabeth Chesney. She's in the Schuylkill chapter in the metropolitan region. Elizabeth says, I don't have a question, but a comment. I wish to thank the president and officers for communication and information from headquarters and regions. A major thank you to Rand Duran. He has kept us so involved and up to date on all the happenings and opportunities within the Guild. Thank you. Well, I'd like to say thank you, Elizabeth, for your kind remarks. Our headquarters staff members work very hard to provide excellent service to our members. I know they appreciate hearing from you, as we all do. I want to thank everyone who submitted the questions for this annual update. They were all very thoughtful and very timely, and we appreciate your passion for EGA and for caring about the future of the organization. This will bring the annual update to a close. Thank you for sticking in there with us as we went through all the reports, the remarks, and the questions and answers. We look forward to seeing many of you at region and national seminars, and we welcome any questions you may have. Just let us know, and we'll do our best to answer and to help. Thank you again for being members of EGA. Let's all work together and make our organization the best it can be for the future. Thank you.